I'll never forget that. We ran back to the Borgata after we made that score, hit a daily double, ended up getting back about $850 or something, but needed it desperately to avoid going to the cash machine. And it's always a little sad when you're among the 11 or so people that are lined up at the various ATMs around any casino destination at 12:01 because it's a new day. You can get new cash, but you might be out of it before you even get to breakfast. It's worth having these limits, I guess, on your ATM card. No, Libby? Like, what's the maximum you could draw off your ATM card if you put
It's usually 500. It's usually 500.
Okay,
I don't mess around.
I'm at a nickel somewhere around
that
category. And lately, my withdrawals have been frequent and even more generous.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Monday morning, it's Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on a Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz. Lubie peeling himself literally not only off the mat, but out of a little technical jackpot here as we get started just a few minutes late on this Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. But good to be with you. Hope everybody had a brilliant weekend getting into the dog days of summer, and at the same time, football training camps opened up all over the place. Brett Tessler, the agent to the Stars, will be joining us later on. And I'm going to steal a little material here from my beloved New York Post from Sunday when we get Tess on the show, because they had a thing about the key questions going into this NFL season. Mike Lubitz. In fact, let me dig this out here and see if it's even worth revisiting. I believe it will be. I mean, these are fairly common. You would think that most people could decipher what the key questions were going into the... Well, I mean, it's good. They give it a little bit of an overview, right, going into the season. Chaos in Cleveland is the headline on this particular article. Key questions, quarterback battle in Carolina. Sort of interesting, right? As they get Baker Mayfield. Last year, they traded for Sam Darnold. Darnold didn't really acquit himself with any tremendous level of distinction, but at the same time, he was a guy that they coveted just a year before. Baker Mayfield was kind of a cast-off. He was a complete cast-off, a former number one overall pick just a few years into his career, and a couple of years removed from taking the Cleveland Browns into the postseason. All of a sudden, is only worth a conditional, not even a fifth-round pick, Louis.
Come on.
I mean, if I'm traded for a fifth-round pick, all right, I can accept that. But when it becomes a conditional fifth-round pick, I guess I can also maybe move it into a fourth-round pick. I don't know how much higher it could go, but maybe it goes lower if Mayfield does nothing. So kind of a disgrace. But what do you think? I mean, did they hand the ball to Mayfield at the beginning of training camp, assuming that he's going to start over Sam Darnold? And then what becomes of Sam Darnold, Mike Lubie? It's a key question. Would you agree? Key question going into the NFL.
Who cares? Like, that's
new contracts? Oh, go ahead.
Well, that's what's so funny is, like, first of all, isn't Cleveland always a circus? So what's new about that? And then, like, okay, so Sam Darnold versus Mayfield, it's a question, but, like, what are the expectations for the Panthers? Like, who is worried about the Panthers? So, like, those two things are something that most NFL fans don't care about at all. And once the football season starts, we won't care about it at all.
It's like you're dating two women, but you really don't care for either of them, overwhelmingly so. Exactly. You're just going out.
Exactly.
Kind of like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Mayfield could resurrect his career. Could he not? Is that what's more likely to happen? Who's more likely to, move from this particular position that they're in? Darnold with a question mark and the Mysterians surrounding his career, and Mayfield, obviously a giant question mark. Who's more likely to emerge with the job and have a chance to maybe take that in another direction? Is it Mayfield or Darnold? Darnold's relatively new. He's played with the Jets. That's a curse. That can hold a quarterback back, set him back 10 years? It's possible.
Exactly, a career.
and Cleveland, not exactly, a bastion of consistency when it comes to the way they run the ball club. In fact, who was the old fart that they had in there that lasted 1 year? Guy looked like a real rough and tumble sort, and they brought him in. It was like having Wayne Fonts come back from the grave and coach the team. All right, new contracts is another question. New contracts. So you're not overwhelmingly interested in that? That's kind of an interesting one. Carolina thing. The new contracts, Kyler Murray gets a big deal. Lamar Jackson, we don't know what's happening with that. He's going to be pissed because Murray got all of his money, even though I don't know. Who's had a more distinguished career so far? Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray? Both have been exposed as having flaws.
I mean, Lamar Jackson
Both-
won an MVP, but
Yeah.
both have question marks at this point.
Tom Brady in, Bruce Arians out. That's the question in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady in, Bruce Arians out. So who was it that was really the driving force behind the success and the you would have to say Brady probably had more to do with the championship that Tampa Bay won a couple of years ago than Bruce Arians did. And when did they sour so badly on Bruce Arians? Was it just a rift between Brady? Brady decided to retire. Next thing you know, Arians says, you know what? I think I'm out of here. And you're wondering how much the Glazers still own that team? The Glazers?
Yes.
They still own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How much Glazer cash
good.
did they have to give Bruce Arians to quietly walk away and say, you know what? I really didn't want to do this anymore. All right, sort of interesting. Quarterback carousel. A lot of quarterbacks change teams during the offseason. Sort of interesting. I don't know. Russell Wilson in Denver. What's the most intriguing, as Al Bernstein would say, of those transitional moves that were made at the quarterback position? You have other quarterback battles that will be taking place. It seems to me the contenders, the real contenders, at least the teams that have the lowest odds and best chance, according to the bookmakers, of winning the Super Bowl, are all set at the quarterback position. It's not a good position to have a lot of question marks swirling around. Arrow pointing up in New York. Is that true? You think that both the Giants and the Jets are on the ascent? Well, they don't have much to climb up from, right?
Could they not be?
What was that? It was an old rank out in New York City. That was a big one, man, when you used to like whip this one out. Because rank out wars were big back in the day, Lubie. It wasn't really like a bullying thing because it didn't matter. The weakest link in terms of physicality and ability to defend himself would fire right back with some acerbic-tongued rank out. Like, I'll rank you so low, you'll be playing handball off the curb. That was a big one. Picture a little guy just hitting the ball off the curb playing handball. That was like when a guy like whipped that one out. That was, whoa, man. Are you kidding me, Joe? You're going to say something like that to me? Are you kidding me? I thought we were friends.
God.
I don't know. Is the arrow pointing up in New York? What do you think, Louis?
I guess, again, when you hit rock bottom, the only place to go is up, they say, right?
Accounts receivable is one of these headlines. Accounts receivable.
Okay.
It starts out by saying it defies logic a bit. Even with more NFL-ready receivers than ever coming out of college, teams still are trading for, then handing out huge extensions to pass catchers.
Yeah.
The pass catcher has become the number one commodity, or so it seems, outside of quarterback in the NFL. That may have always been the case. Although, I don't know that they were as regarded. At one time, it was all running backs. Now nobody cares about running backs.
Yep.
Any schmenk will do. Journeymen are turned into 1,000-yard rushers. 1,000 yards doesn't mean too much in a 17-game season. What was it? 62 and a half yards used to get you 1,000 yards in a 16-game season. So what do you need now? Like 58 yards, something like that? That's incredible. The 49ers, right? Trey Lance takes over quarterback. What happens to Jimmy Garoppolo? And what if the Dolphins acquire Jimmy Garoppolo? Would that shock you? Jimmy Garoppolo. They
Then I
trade
don't
Tua
think
for Jimmy G.
Yeah, that's not.
Not happening.
Whatever NFL execs are saying that, I don't think they're going to have jobs much longer because there's nothing. Teddy Bridgewater right now, I'd rather have than Jimmy G, especially with the position. And Tua's better. or at least we don't know what Tua is, and you do know what Jimmy G is. And Jimmy G's older, and Tua's in like.
He had a sore arm, though, last year. I mean, he really did. He ended up having shoulder surgery, successful shoulder surgery. One of the most difficult things that any sportscaster could ever have to utter outside of Detroit Red Wings win again. Successful shoulder surgery on Jimmy G. It was sort of minor, and it was really not, major. Well, I guess, it was giant headlines like you would see if, say it happened to Johnny Unitas or something, shoulder surgery in the offseason. But Jimmy G, an interesting commodity. No, I don't know. I can't see the Dolphins bailing out on Tua for Jimmy Garoppolo. No. Who would, though? I mean, there has to be a team that would benefit. In fact, Carolina might be better off taking Garoppolo than having Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. So there's another addition to that question. All right, anyway, we'll run some of that stuff by. What did you think? I mean, it was sort of interesting, right? Those are the main survey topics going into the NFL. Did the Dolphins now, they have their veterans report already? I think everybody did, right? Everybody's in training camp this week.
I think by this week. I know last week was rookies. This week is vets, but I would presume by today, latest tomorrow. I mean, we have.
When's the Hall of Fame game? Like Saturday? When is that?
I think it's next
It's my
week.
favorite game of the year outside of the Pro Bowl, the Hall of Fame game.
I think it's next
where
Thursday.
they trot Peyton Manning out. He takes one snap, hands the ball off, and then gets right off the field there. And, is in street clothes the rest of the time. Anyway, that's part of the excitement on the sporting scene. A lot of people have been jonesing. Got the shakes. They can't take it anymore. No football. They're bored with baseball, even though many things are happening around Major League Baseball, including this. This is kind of interesting. Because, didn't Pete Rose already make an appearance on a Major League Baseball field? By that time he was interviewed by Jim Gray. I know that was what, at an All-Star game? Where they had Pete Rose introduced, and he got this exception from the commissioner at the time.
That was at Cincinnati. Cincinnati had the All-Star game, so they brought back their greats.
They brought back Pete.
Bring back Pete.
Okay, so he was already on a field.
Yes.
So it's a big deal coming up. Philadelphia is going to have like some kind of alumni weekend for, I think it's their 1980 championship team.
Oh, nice.
And they've invited Pete Rose, and they've already got the exception from the commissioner, Manfred Mann, who denied Pete Rose's application to be reinstated into any kind of stature in Major League Baseball. Now, would you say that the punishment here is cruel and unusual? I know. I remember as a kid, and I've told this story many times. My dad hooked me up with this guy who was very tight with the Washington Senators. He was a war correspondent, and he had written a book. And my dad was doing some editing on this book as they transformed it from a hard copy into a paperback. My father worked for a company that did that, Avon Books, back in the day. Now I think they only do sex novels, but back then they were part, of a pretty big movement. And he got this guy's book transformed into, a paperback edition. And for helping him out, this gentleman invited me. Knew I was a big baseball fan. I was probably like 8 at the time. To go to a Washington Senators game. And going into the clubhouse, I met Frank Howard. I mean, Frank Howard's hand was the size of an oar. It was unbelievable. The great Frank Howard, number 25. And, I still can visualize myself as a little kid going in there. And one of the shockers to me, and we were already degenerate gamblers, even at 8, growing up in Brooklyn. But one of the shockers to me was the sign on the clubhouse that said betting on baseball and gambling on baseball is strictly forbidden. And anybody, caught doing this is going to be banned from the game, okay? Or whatever, will face severe penalties. I'm not sure exactly how the rule was written or worded, but it was right there. And I thought, wow, that's an odd thing. You would think that they could just have a team meeting before the season and say, hey, guess what, guys? Don't bet on baseball. Like, do you really need to read that every time you go into a clubhouse if you're a player?
That's weird.
You don't understand that yet?
Yeah.
Now, is it really applicable today? When the same guys that are being warned against betting on baseball are wearing like FanDuel logos on their uniforms.
Exactly.
And they have betting at the stadium, like you can bet every pitch at the ballpark. I mean, I'm not sure how many stadiums actually have instituted that or already infused gambling sites into the facility itself. I think it's more than one. I want to say it's more than one. Yeah, has already done that. And you would have to think that that's an evolution that's going to, include everybody eventually. That you're going to see betting sites and betting windows at every stadium. If they only had simulcasting, baseball would be that much more interesting. I could stand there and watch the horses and plunge away, and then every now and then, oh, look at that, a hit. That happens every now and then. But all right, so Pete Rose's band goes back to like 1987 or something like that. Even further than that. Yeah, I guess it's in the 80s somewhere. And so it's like over 30 years that this guy's been banned from Major League Baseball. Is that not enough? I mean, as we watch these Hall of Fame ceremonies, it's one thing you're going to keep the guy out of the Hall of Fame, but how do you have Pete Rose out of there? I mean, it's a standard argument. This used to be, a sports talk classic, right? Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? We've discussed this from a zillion different angles, but you would have to say after a period of time, I mean, murderers get out of jail after 30 years that were sentenced to life, without parole, and they find some loophole somewhere in the state laws, and they realize, okay, they without parole can be overcome, and they finally let this guy out. He's reformed himself. I don't know if Pete Rose has stopped betting, but with the emphasis on wagering in sports today and the partnerships that have been formed and forged with betting sites. Almost every league is in bed with every betting site, every professional sport. Is it not? I mean, not to quote Charles Barkley, a little bit hypocritical for baseball to continue to punish this guy for something, an indiscretion that he had 30 some odd years ago when he was a sick degenerate. Everybody knew that about Pete Rose, right? He would go to the track, he would have a stack of cash on the table there. His car was parked. I remember going to Tampa Bay Downs when he was managing the Phillies, and they trained nearby to Tampa Bay Downs, and his car, that Ferrari, was always the first one in the parking lot. My friend was the valet parking manager, and he said, yep, Pete's here. And I'd say, where? Well, what are you talking about? He'd go, yeah, that's his car right there, that Lamborghini that's sitting right there in the clubhouse. He used to drive right into the track, Pete Rose, and plunge away. And you'd see some horse in the first race that was already 1-9 with $12,000 bet on him to win. Nobody else, the other totals were like $2, $4, $0. Hours before the races even started. And you knew Pete had come in there and sent in 12 times on the 2. It was great. All right, but all of those other forms of gambling, I guess, wouldn't have gotten him in the jackpot. Now, he was betting on the team that he was managing, the Cincinnati Reds. Supposedly, he was betting on them to win. He was betting a zillion other games as well as the evidence would have shown, although he was in constant denial. I don't know if he had admitted it right away. Do you think that he would still be suffering the punishment, the punitive aspect of this, where he's not even allowed supposedly to show up at a ballpark? Are you kidding me? I mean, but how far-fetched is this now when everybody in pro sports is encouraging you to gamble, including Roger Goodell? Right? Where Goodell just a couple of years ago was saying, oh, no, we can't have this. What, are you kidding me? And then I guess they made some kind of clandestine deal under the table, Sepp Blatter type arrangement. And I don't know what the cut is of Major League Baseball. Do they get a piece of the action that's been on Major League Baseball? Or do they just get like zillions of dollars from FanDuel and DraftKings and Caesars and MGM and all of these different betting venues that they are now more than happy to embrace and endorse and wrap their arms around and say, you know what, people, this is a good thing for you. You bet on this Michigan stuff where everybody strikes out all the time, and you have no idea if Sandy Alcantara can even go out there and get a win, even though he's one of the few guys that's going to go 8-9 innings in a ball game. But, I mean, isn't it? It's a little late for that, isn't it? I mean, with Pete Rose, I mean, why is this even an issue? Lubie, what do you think? I mean, 30 some odd years isn't enough for this guy to have paid his penance for, doing something, having this horrible indiscretion, which, look, I mean, how much on the gray area is all of this now, where you don't know what's going on? I mean, the big thing was, well, you can't have a player get bought out by some mobster and, fix a game. But that's not happening anymore. When guys are turning down $400 million in salary, I mean, who's going to be able to buy like Juan Soto? Nobody.
No one.
What are you going to buy some scrub and hope that he makes an error? Actually, all you have to do is take a look at the Red Sox and they're playing the field of late. You would have to think something is up there, right? Is Alex Cora betting his brains out on the opposition? Have you seen the Red Sox fielding lately? I mean, the lowlights are incredible. I mean, they're dropping pop-ups and grounders are going right through their legs. They set a record now for run differential in a 5-game span against. I think they have lost their last 5 games by a combined total of like 54 runs, something in that neighborhood. It's in the 50s. And no team has done that since 1899. 1899 was the last time a team was this feeble in terms of a 5-game stretch and 5 losses. They've lost 9 out of 10. Alex Cora, who came back to the team this year amidst a blaze of glory, now finds himself doing the Ralph Cramden at every press conference, sort of with a slight Hispanic accent, just going, holy Carl Yastrzemski, we don't know what's going on there. But I don't know. Should that be an issue? It's amazing that it even is today with Pete Rose. Why doesn't Manfred Mann just say, "Hey, listen, Pete, you're forgiven"? Yeah, don't you think that would be a more popular stance with baseball fans, in light of the fact that every Yankee fan is absolutely pissed that David Ortiz? They're all producing new evidence now that Ortiz was on the juice at the Hall of Fame ceremonies. There are guys outside with signs going, "He's a juicer. He's a juicer." As popular as Ortiz is. Why is Ortiz so popular? I guess, it seems like he has, a welcoming personality, doesn't he?
Yes, he smiles. He's happy. He doesn't really start stuff with people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mushnick just trashed his appearance as a broadcaster at the All-Star game, saying, what was that? I mean, you had Ortiz who looked like he was high on something, just running around the dugout doing nonsensical stuff with a microphone. But anyway, he goes into the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose out of baseball. And they make a big issue about whether or not he can even show up at a stinking Phillies game. And I think really you would have to say, are we not a forgiving society, Lubie? There have been so many atrocities committed that why wouldn't you just give Pete Rose a pass at this point and say, listen, Pete, we know you're a sick degenerate. In fact, he would be the poster child for everything that they're trying to accomplish right now in Major League Baseball, getting people to separate themselves from their money while watching these games. It's you don't see a whole lot of people endorsing. I guess with FanDuel and DraftKings. Do you see anybody that's given a presence and a platform because they've won a ton of money? You don't see any of that. No, they just
Not really. Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny to me, the whole thing about, I get like you shouldn't be able to gamble on your own team just because of that idea, even though I think that's ludicrous. There's, like you're just talking, there's so much money in the sports, and these guys are even the Schmanks though, like, make millions. That
Yeah.
who's throwing anything? So I don't really care about the gambling. You've embraced the gambling dollar, like, but fine, you can't gamble on your sport, okay. But the Pete Rose thing is stupid. If you don't want him involved in the game, fine. But the Hall of Fame, like that argument was said a long time ago. The dude's a Hall of Famer. There's lots of guys in the Hall of Fame that are not sweethearts, that are not angels. Like, at this point, let the dude in
Yeah.
and call it. Like, I don't understand the fight that they're so bad.
Well, especially with some of the questionable guys that have been admitted lately. I know they kept Bonds and Clemens out, but look, you had many guys that were either proven to, or you were pretty sure that they were juicing the entire time that this steroid era was in full swing. I mean, there are probably guys still doing it today that are getting away with it somehow, but nonetheless, it does seem like an odd distinction to ban Pete Rose from the game entirely. I mean, it's one thing you don't want to let him have a job in a game, which I don't know that it would make that much difference right now. It's just odd because the leagues themselves, including the commissioners, are big advocates for the idea of these gambling sites. So why wouldn't you want Pete back in the game? I mean, he was the ultimate ambassador for degeneracy. He really was.
Honestly.
I would think that he would be the poster child for Major League Baseball. And they might even, like they have the logo of Jerry West in the NBA, which is now in question, whether they're going to keep it. Pete Rose should be the logo for Major League Baseball.
Yes.
Charlie Hustle with a dollar sign on his head. Yeah. All right. Many things happening. Wow. Lubie, what did you think of this blockbuster? This is on the local scene here.
Yes,
now,
sir.
hockey has massive transactions. Sarni was right about this, Jim Sarni.
Very active.
But, if you want to follow like trades of and deals and free agent transactions of just enormous significance, and not just one, but where a league is involved in like 20 of these transactions during any offseason, even during the season. I used to love that. NHL trades. They would trade like 11 guys. They would trade the whole franchise. Like Calgary would move to Edmonton, and Edmonton would move to Calgary. It was like a wife swapping. It was like Mike Kekich and Fritz Peterson. And those were great. But, wow, I mean, there were blockbuster deals taking place in the NHL, including free agency and then trades. And then I thought this was an oddball one, right? Like Matt Tkachuk is a very, very popular player. He's only been in the league, I think, 5 years. He's already had like a 40-goal season this past year. I think he scored 45 goals. A dynamic scorer, a real presence. I'm assuming he's the son of Keith Tkachuk, right?
Yes. Yep.
A longtime player. And it was Paul Correa was the player I was trying to think of. Remember the other day I was blanking?
Yes.
And I thought it was Tkachuk. I don't know why. I knew it was something that sounded like that. Paul Correa was the guy that was a third baseman for the University of Maine, came down here to play baseball against Miami. And I remember calling that game, and I was like, who is this guy? And everybody was saying, oh, no, he's like a giant hockey star, because they were making a big deal about Paul Correa. And he was. And I guess, he had a pretty good slap shot in baseball also. And had a very distinguished hockey career also after that. But did you ever anticipate that the Panthers would trade Hoobie Doobie Doo?
No.
who had I mean, you would have to say, MVP type of season last year for, even league consideration. No, I mean, what a brilliant passer this guy is. He's
He had like
John
150
Stockton on
points.
skates
He like had, I think if he didn't lead the league in points, he was up there.
and 115 points.
Yeah, he was great at assists, but he also can score. The issue is, and it's now 2 years in a row we've seen, he not only is not that he's not great in the playoffs, he disappears. Like in the playoffs, he was nowhere to be found. And Barkov does that, Ekblad does that. You need one of them to be a force. And
Yeah.
from what I've heard, what I've read, and then even looking at his stats, Kachuk in the playoffs is a monster. Like he doubled Huberdeau's points for a team that was way worse. Like the Calgary Flames were good. They weren't the Panthers. So if he was doing that without talent around him, the idea is with talent, he'll be better. And he's 5 years younger. And that's the thing, that he is younger. So you hopefully, they already have a deal set. They couldn't really get a deal together with Huberdeau, supposedly. So you have all that worked out. You'll have him for 8 years because it's hockey. So guys sign deals for 30 years. My problem is the deal it wasn't, where you're seeing these Durant deals where Durant's great and Booker's really good, but he's not Durant. That's not like Huberdeau is on par with Kachuk. Like he is. Like Kachuk might be a little better, but when you look at their stats, Huberdeau was a better player in the regular season last year. So fine, you want to give him up head to head or a pick. What the Panthers gave up was a lot. Uyghur is really good. Like Uyghur was a huge part of their success.
Yeah, that's true.
To give up a great player for another great player, and then you give up another really good player, and then the draft picks they gave up were really high. Like that's why a lot of people are saying they got fleeced, because they got the best player in the deal, but it's not like Huberdeau was some good, rotational guy. Like Huberdeau was legit, and he's not old. He's just older.
He, I thought, was the best of the, in terms of consistency last couple of seasons, especially this last year. He was the best of this big three that they've been trying to build around, who have all been together now for several seasons.
Yep.
With Ekblad and Barkov. So, no, that's odd. I didn't even realize that they had thrown in so much more, Lubie, because all I saw was Huberdeau for Kachuk, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe you get a little bit more scoring punch in terms of goals, but you certainly lose a lot because this guy was an artist out there, Huberdeau. Man, he was fantastic. If you watch some of the passes this guy made, I mean, on a consistent basis. Now, maybe a little reluctant to shoot. It's possible, but he did have 30 goals, so it's not like he never scored. And, I thought he was far and away the most consistent and best Panther player last year in a season that they had reason to celebrate, except for the fact that they choked and fell apart in the playoffs, as predicted by the gambling gourmet, Mike Mayo. How was that thing? It looked pretty good. I saw the very beginning of it. You guys recording the Wednesday lunchbox at the Foundry. And I guess more importantly, Lubie, how was the food?
It's great. I mean, the Foundry, what's cool about the Foundry is a lot of and more places are doing this, I guess, but so the idea is brunch is a Sunday thing. What's cool about the Foundry is they do Saturday and Sunday, and it was great. I mean, the professor, of course, treated us like kings, and they had a good crowd. Shirley came out. A couple of my friends came out, and they were hanging out away from where we did the show, and went really well. We had a lot of fun. The chef came out. The professor and Mayo talked food, and I just sort of,
It's all you got to do sometimes, man. It's a great thing.
Honestly,
I like that role where you don't have to do shit. It's fantastic.
So we had a really good time, and it went really well.
A lot easier to do a show. Yeah. All right. Good. And that's coming up Wednesday on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and I caught a little bit of it because I guess it was going out live there on Saturday on South Florida Live. All right, so the Hubie trade, you're okay with it, all right? A lot of people excited about Kachuk. They don't know much about him because you don't see a lot of Calgary hockey. I guess this was it Johnny Gaudreau, the other guy that left there and went to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So did they not lose? They got Huberdeau in the deal there, but I mean Calgary, what was a fairly formidable team last year. Some people thought they were going to win the Stanley Cup, and all of a sudden they're completely reconstructed. As are many hockey teams, a lot of big changes in the NHL, and that certainly looms as a large one. Because Hubie, you had to think Hubie, even though he was a very quiet guy. I remember interviewing Jonathan Huberdeau when he was a rookie, and he was one of the guys, especially when we were working with Steve Goldstein there on the morning show on 940 Wins for a couple of years. Goldie naturally connected very closely with the Panthers, was able to get a bunch of players to come on, and almost routinely Huberdeau would be the guy.
Yes,
that would be willing to do the interview. When he first came, his English wasn't all that swift. He was kind of one of those interviews where you're just hoping, okay, Hoobie, say something interesting in the next 10 minutes. Even though, you know the guy's a nice guy, and obviously you're not going to be condescending to this guy and say, hey, wake the fuck up and say something. But he seemed like a very gracious, humble, really like a solid citizen type of athlete that you can have nothing but respect for. And, we applaud what he did here with the Florida Panthers. He certainly tried. You would have to say he certainly tried. We're not the kind of city that's going to give this guy a big send-off, are we? When he comes back to town, should the people not rise from their seats and give this guy a standing ovation? I mean, he played his eyeballs out.
He was there for 10 years. Did you realize? I didn't realize he was there 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
He was here longer than the Hows were in the NHL, including Gordy. Yeah, you wouldn't have thought so, right? 10 years ago, Hoobie Doobie Doo was a rookie. At the beginning, you thought, well, not living up to expectations. Then he really, caught on, and I thought he delivered a high level of consistency throughout the last 5 or 6 years that he was with the team. And what was far and away, I thought, last year, their most exciting and best player.
Yeah.
Even though Barkov gets all the attention, he's been in and out of the lineup. And they've had some really good players come through here, but they haven't been able to make much happen. So let's see if it happens.
And that's
with this Tkachuk.
In the playoffs, they and it's why Mayo ended up being right and we were wrong. We saw a very aggressive team all year, so we thought that would keep happening. And the playoffs, now 2 years in a row, the aggressiveness sort of waned, and this year it fell off a cliff. At least last year versus the Lightning, they were in it through 6 games. Like this year, I mean, the Capitals went way farther than it should, and the Lightning, they were never in that series. Like, it was a joke. And Huberdeau was their metronome. Huberdeau was that set the tone all year. And then the playoffs come, and he's nowhere to be found. Tkachuk's the opposite. Tkachuk is, as Aaron was saying in the chat, Tkachuk is not only loves the big moment, he's physical. Like the dude, for an offensive player, he takes people out. He plays end to end. I've done, as you can see, and now I'm an expert because I kept reading about the trade, and I'm like, the Panthers gave up a lot. But when you would read hockey people, they thought it was a great trade. They thought both sides did well, and they talked about the Panthers are looking to change the tone of their team. Like, they
can't be soft and finesse oriented. Got to get tough. This is the NHL.
Yep.
You don't have. I don't think you have as much fighting in the NHL as you used to. It seems to have simmered down a little bit from back in the day when, as soon as like Ty Domi hit the ice, you knew he was, or Peter Worrell with the Panthers, Paul Laws. I mean, many goons. You don't even have like a guy described as a goon anymore.
No, they don't.
You used to have at least one big-time enforcer on your team, but that doesn't seem to be an element that teams are necessarily coveting anymore. But, you don't want to be, sort of light on your skates there, right? Just skating around like Victor Kozlov all of those years. Hey, do another pirouette there, Victor, and then maybe shoot the puck. That's going to be my thing. Every time Tkachuk gets the puck, I'm going to be screaming, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. That's if we get to a game. I don't know that we'll ever be invited back there once Doug Sifu gets a hold of this stuff on South Florida Live and sees what Mayo has to say about him. All right? Probably banned from the arena. All right, I was wrong about Juan Urena. I don't mind saying, that I was wrong about Juan Urena, who I remember a couple of years ago I was screaming as he walked by. I mean, I actually, and I rarely do this. Where he was walking, by when he was with the Marlins, and I was screaming, Cy Young, Cy Young, Cy Young.
Cy Young.
Geffner thought I was crazy when I said that on the show. Did I say that to Mike Hill also, the GM at the time?
Yes, you said it to everyone. You said it to Mattingly.
Yeah,
you were like all in on Urena. Yeah, he looked fun. He just
no one said anything back. Like they all just sat there and said, "Yeah, that's a good observation, DeForest." You obviously watch a lot of baseball. I thought the guy had stuff, man. I thought he had some salsa on there, like El Duque, only with a more, overwhelming fastball. Drew a little bit more heat than El Duque, but he had all kinds of stuff. And movement. Movement is what you want. Movement, Lubie. Yes. You want that ball darting all over the place.
Yes. Guys
that throw it straight, like Phil Hughes. Polyman pointed it out to me many years ago. Phil Hughes, when he was a Yankee, straight down the middle. Straight down the middle. Doesn't matter. You could bring it at 100. Straight down the middle.
Who cares? Yeah.
That one is high, it is far, and it is gone.
Exactly.
They're going to hit it out of the park, man. These guys are good. And that's what they're looking to do at this stage in Major League Baseball. The zeros were piling up there for the Marlins, but Juan Urena did not win the Cy Young and didn't come close, right? What does he have, like 4 career wins? I don't even know. It's not really overwhelmingly impressive. But
What's he now? I don't even know.
yeah, I mean, Cy Young had more wins, in April of his rookie season than this guy's had in his career. But Sandy Alcantara, I mean, bona fide. Does he not? Does he not win the Cy Young? How does he not win it this year? It's impossible. And yet the Marlins, and I was getting all kinds of messages from people I didn't even know followed baseball yesterday, saying, "Can you believe this shit? They can't score for this guy, and then they bring in relievers. They finally got like a 4-2 lead in the ninth inning. They bring in some chump, and he gives up 2 runs in the ninth. And you're thinking, oh my God, why bother following this team unless you just
Exactly.
thrive on anxiety
Exactly.
and false hope? The city of false hope, South
Honestly.
Florida, city of false hope.
Honestly.
But they came back and won this game yesterday against the Pirates, right? It shouldn't be that much of a struggle, should it? Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh no, the second series in a row versus the Pirates, they struggled. They took the series, but
That 1-0 game on Saturday was dreadful.
Saturday.
I watched a bunch of that game. Every time I tune on a set, we were talking to Jessica Blaylock on the show, who does a fine job reporting for Bally Sports Florida and was all over these ball games over the weekend. And I was saying, I don't know what it is. I mean, it happens to different people, to sports fans, when you're following a team. But and I would like to see the Marlins do well because, as we say, we're rooting for Mattingly. I mean, we have nothing against the franchise. This Bruce Sherman hasn't done anything that smacks of atrocity, has he? I mean, Jeter was kind of a weird presence there because you thought, wow, this should be really good, but it really wasn't.
Nope.
It wasn't changing anything, and it just whenever you ran across Jeter, didn't you feel awkward, Lubie? I mean,
Yes.
he cast an awkward presence
He
over the club.
He does a lingering. Like he from everything he said, he wanted to be there. No one was definitely pushing him to be there or forcing him to be there. But it always felt like he was uncomfortable being there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, look, we're rooting for the team. I'd like to see him do well. We're big fans of Mickey Rojas. Yeah, I mean, they were always cool with us. I like the young guys. I mean, clean cut. They just seem to represent a lot of good things. Most of the guys in the Marlins organization that we've come across anyway, they've been trying. You thought maybe they could do it by assembling some kind of dynamite starting pitching rotation. We thought Trevor Rogers was going to be really good. That hasn't really panned out. We had other guys here that were traded away that you thought were really going to have fine careers here with the Marlins, but for whatever reason, they parted ways. Sixto, where is he, man? Search warrant out for Sixto Sanchez.
They're all injured. Look, now Mayer second.
Oh yeah, he pulled out of a game after
he's hurt. Chisholm supposedly has some crazy ass injury where they thought he was going to be coming back. Now he may be done for the year. Yeah. He's at least out for 6 to 8 weeks. So at that point, like, what are you bringing him back for? You're not going to be in it. Look, it is injuries, but okay. So, I mean, every year it feels like that's their issue. They have all these young pitchers that keep getting hurt. Like Cabrera and Sixto now for 3 straight years have been injured. Like, and now Mayer joins that. So I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm telling you, like, at some point, it's good. Someone's going to get blamed. That's how sports work. That's how life works. Someone gets blamed. And people keep going, well, what's wrong with Mattingly? I'm like, I like Mattingly. We love Mattingly. But at some point, the same thing happens over and over and over again.
If they finish under 500, you have to figure that Mattingly's gone. But I don't know that there is, some surefire answer to bring in. Everybody's crediting Buck Showalter with straightening out the Mets. The Mets, though, in general, are just having a better season also.
Yeah, they're healthier.
They were with Rojas as their manager. I don't know what kind of bozo Rojas was. I didn't really follow him that closely, but, they're in better shape this year. You're right. And DeGrom maybe eventually comes back. Sandy Alcantara, the poor man's Jacob DeGrom, no?
Yes. No, he is.
Poor man's DeGrom, you would have to say.
And now he's the best pitcher in baseball, and he got another, I guess it wasn't a loss because they won the game.
No decision,
he had 2 earned runs, pitched a gem again, and doesn't get the victory.
Struck out like 10 guys.
What is he supposed to do?
Yeah. Went, far deep into the ball game by today's standards. Past 5 innings is deep into the ball game, but having a great year. It's good that he's still getting the recognition, even though the record used to be my big indicator of Cy Young Award potential, right? I mean, you're looking for Denny McLain, man, winning like 30 games. The truth was, was it Mickey Lolich actually was having like a better year than Denny McLain?
Yes.
But he wasn't getting the victories like that. McLain was winning games like 7-5 after giving up 5 runs in, 5 innings, and his team would score in the bottom of the fifth 6 times, and he'd somehow leave the game on top, and then the relievers would hold him the rest of the way, and he won like 31 games that year. But that used to be the barometer. You had to have a lot of wins. That changed when DeGrom had like what was he like 3-1, and he won the Cy Young Award.
He was like 10-14. Him and King Felix. King Felix one year was like 12-16. Like what look, Nolan Ryan, he never won a Cy Young because they always focus on win-loss, but he was on a lot of suck-ass teams. Whenever he pitched like a freaking monster. What did he have, like double-digit no-hitters?
He was on some good teams with the Angels. They had a bang-up 1-2. Frank Tanana, Nolan Ryan. They had other good pitchers, and they went for it. I often reference this because I still can see the headline there in the L.A. Times and the Herald Examiner. The singing cowboy empties his saddlebags. And he had signed a bunch of free agents. Look, they had Rod Carew on the team, Don Baylor. They had Bobby Grich. Carney Lansford was a good third baseman with the Angels back then. They had a pretty good team. Unfortunately, they never won any championships during that period of time. I got to see a lot of Nolan Ryan games.
I'm jealous.
So I covered a lot of Angels games, and of course, I was a Met fan when Ryan was with the Mets. But he wasn't much when he was with the Mets because he couldn't find home plate with a compass. This guy needed a search warrant to find a dish. Wild, absolutely wild. But wow, it was cool too covering those Angels games because you had like an 11 o'clock deadline, and the games would start at 7:30, but they'd be over by 9 when Ryan was pitching.
Yeah.
No hitters, one hitters, whatever. I mean, it was just everybody striking out. 1, 2, 3. Really amazing, man. He had a pretty wicked curveball too for a guy that was known for his heater.
Strike a pitcher,
Same thing. Bob Gibson, man. When Gibson threw that over the top curveball, it was like, whoa, that's not even fair. That he's going to throw one under your chin on the first pitch and then drop one on the outside corner. Umpiring really sucks, though, Major League Baseball. The balls and strikes. Wow, what game was I watching the other night? It was just awful. Oh, the Marlins game. The Marlins were actually getting the benefit of a lot of calls, surprisingly.
That's rare.
They never do.
That's rare.
This umpire, you would have thought that he had visions of Billy Barty being at the plate, man. I mean, the low strike was being given on a regular basis. I mean, as liberally as I've ever seen to Marlins pitchers in that ball game, the 1-0 game on Saturday night. And, wow, I mean, Pittsburgh had every reason to be screaming. And then their guys, were getting, not only called out on those pitches, but when they were on the mound, they weren't giving it to them. It was like all of a sudden the strike zone moved up like 8 inches. So I don't know. When are they going to the robo umpires? Are you a big fan of that, Lubie? Because
it sucks because I have a buddy who's actually
is that deemed to be completely accurate? Because
yes.
I don't know that it is. Yeah,
I don't know. That's what they feel. From what I've heard, is it's on point. Yeah, you don't have the emotion. Like I don't need emotion of them possibly getting it wrong. Like I never understood that. Like I'd rather just get it right and move on. A guy that was a listener of ours who's become a good friend, Seymour, is an ump. He finally made it to like AAA. Like he's actually a buddy of mine. Yeah, he used to do high school, worked it. It was his dream. He did a lot of camps, and now he's doing at least minor league baseball. And I think he's done some AAA, and he's really into it. And he's really good. So I sort of feel bad saying this, but there's too much inconsistency with it, and there's no reason for it when you have something like a robot umpire that can just move the game along. There's no fighting, there's no questions, there's no less guys will get thrown out because they're yelling at an umpire. Like I just don't see why not use it if you have it. You
still have guys screaming at chair umpires and Lions people in tennis, but not like it was. Whenever they have the Hawkeye thing going, players seem to accept that even if there's a slight margin of error, like, what is it, like 99.87% accurate, which is close enough for me, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you can't ask necessarily for perfection. You would like to see that. I don't like it, though, when they show these pitches going through that fabricated box, of a would-be strike zone. I don't know that I agree with all of the calls that are made. As you look through this window, and the TV broadcast is now obsessed with showing you 100 replays of the pitch. It's like, why don't you just come out and say, the umpire blew the call, man. The guy's blind as a bat. Fucking Helen Keller could have called that pitch a strike. And this guy's got it outside. You got to be kidding me. All right, we have a lot to discuss. There was a Hall of Fame ceremony. Gil Hodges gets in. A lot of New Yorkers had been kind of fetching about that for years and years and years. I do remember Gil Hodges' home run total as being 370 for his career. As a player, was he borderline Hall of Famer? And this was like a new consideration for the Veterans Committee, where they were able to combine the guy's entire body of work as a baseball man.
Okay.
Where, you had the World Series championship with the New York Mets, and then, of course, a reasonably high-end and productive Major League Baseball career. Was Hodges supposedly one of the great defensive first basemen in the game? Gil Hodges?
I don't know.
Why do I want to say yes to that? I don't want to give him credit for something that, maybe, I mean, it wasn't like he was Dick Stewart, Dr. Strangeglove. I want to say that he was a very polished fielding first baseman, reasonable power, 370 career home runs was a pretty good number, total back then, and I guess still would be today. And, it was a very consistent hitter also, Gil Hodges. Did he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame based on his playing merit alone? Some people would say yes to that. Probably, I don't know, would you get an equal divide on that? Naturally, growing up in New York, there was a lot of sentiment for Gil Hodges, a very popular figure there, to be in the Hall of Fame. People were bitching about it for years and years and years. He finally, gets to consideration. And I didn't see the speeches. I'm not inclined anymore to watch any of these Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, even the NFL, which is probably, the best of them. But, I just I couldn't really bring myself to tune that in. I didn't even know when it was on, to be honest with you. But, supposedly a very moving speech made by Gil Hodges' daughter. His wife, I believe, passed away not that long ago, but she was always being interviewed from time to time, and sort of not necessarily campaigning for it, but they would always ask, about the Hall of Fame thing. And it was very sentimental, right? Very emotionally moving to hear the wife speak about Gil Hodges. And now the daughter apparently, really, to use a pun here, knocked it out of the park at the Hall of Fame ceremonies yesterday. So that was good. Finally, a lot of people would consider that, rectifying a wrong that's been in existence for years and years and years. With Gil Hodges not being in the Hall of Fame, he is there right now. Tim Kirkchin, actually, I saw a little piece with Tim Kirkchin, who got in on the sports writers. I don't know, do they get somebody like from the media in every year?
I don't know.
Or is this like a rarity?
Yeah, I don't know if it's an every year thing.
Yeah, every year would kind of minimize, it'd be, going to some guy. Who we got? Yeah. How about, that guy that's, he's writing in Evansville. Yeah, get him. Who is this schmink? Kirkchin, very much synonymous. Great ambassador for the game. A lot of credibility. Everybody likes him. And his emotions that he expressed about being given this honor, I thought were really, really moving. And Kirkchin can cry on a dime, man.
Yep.
He really
he's very emotional dude. Yep.
If he wasn't, doing this sports writing thing on Major League Baseball and the TV coverage, he would have been a figure skater, because he could cry on a dime.
A figure skater.
Like as soon as the scores go up.
Jesus.
Hey, I'm peeling myself off the mat here. But we've been yakking for a long time. I mean, we've been
I tried to
stretch the conversation. We didn't even get into half the stuff I had. Yeah, my favorite situation occur in auto racing of all things, Lubie. A double disqualification. It's a wrestling move, right? Double disqualification. Then 1 and 2 finishers in this race in Pocono were disqualified for failing post-race mechanical inspections. One guy's gas tank was like, the size of Lake Havasu. And I don't know what the other guy did. But anyway, that's a rarity, huh? The third place finisher was declared the winner. Because the first 2 finishers, who was it? Like Hamlin and Bush? I believe it was. Denny Hamlin and one of the Bushes, right? George. He was driving yesterday in a NASCAR race in the Poconos. Isn't that like a big event, right? To have a double disqualification? There wasn't really much said about that, except that it happened. So this guy Elliott ends up winning the thing, and he actually finished 3rd under the checkered flag, Libby. How about that, right? It's like the Sheik being disqualified at the same time, in a match against The Rock, and they both get disqualified in professional wrestling. Very rare. Which, by the way, the ultimate DQ, right? Vince McMahon finally rolled a second.
Yes. Did he die?
No.
He tapped out, right? Didn't he retire?
He tapped out. You're right. Exactly. Good way of putting it.
I thought that he retired. I was like, Did he die?
He retired,
I
yeah.
saw him tweet. I'm like, he did it from the grave. I'm like, oh my god, so I can interview Defo from the grave. I'm like, that's good to know. I'm like, if he's coming from the grave, then Defo definitely will come from the grave. Like, that's interesting.
No, he hasn't checked out. Although, it's amazing with the amount of juice that this guy's taking. You talk about Ortiz, never mind that. McMahon went from a waif like, he looked like Arnold Stang, the old guy in the Chunky commercial. Boy, that's an archaic reference. And, all of a sudden, this like Incredible Hulk, Vince McMahon. Why is it? I don't know. Is Stephanie McMahon like really smart?
Probably.
Why am I not buying the daughter? As the
I don't buy any of them.
The new force behind the WWE. It's kind of like the whole thing with the Ivanka Trump, right? Where you're really? She's running the country? Interesting.
But look, the McMahons are probably must be bright. It's like the Kardashians. My wife hates when I do it, but I think the Kardashians are stupid as rocks. And she's like, how could that be? Look at what they've done. I'm like, I guess you're right. They turned a sex tape into $1 billion. Like all of them, if not are billionaires, are damn near. So I guess it takes smarts. Like Chris, even though I think it's the scummiest thing ever to exploit your children, that's what she did. She exploited her daughter's sex tape to become a mega entrepreneur. But you know what? She did it. So that's what I'm saying. The McMahons, even though when you hear them talk, you're like, what are they saying? They've turned wrestling into one of the global industries.
No, it's amazing, man. It was dead.
Yeah. So,
I remember when his father was promoting wrestling in New York, and, he was sort of a known figure, but nothing of the stature of Vince McMahon Jr., and wrestling was dead in the water. All of my favorite sports have been on life support, it seems like forever, and have been declared like dead on arrival. Boxing supposedly finished years and years ago. People still think it's done, even though you're looking and seeing these mega pay-per-view events still taking place. And, there obviously is an interest in it. Showtime's still showing it, and you see it now on other networks as well. So still very much around. Horse racing, another spectacular weekend of horse racing taking place around the country. That supposedly was dead. But wrestling legitimately was dead, Lubie. It went from being on TV every Saturday night to absolute disappearance. The only wrestling you saw was maybe on like some of these smaller circuits. I didn't even know the WWF at the time, still continued. And Vince McMahon Jr., a brilliant job, obviously, of making this the massive force that it became, to the point where he could just, sort of, wink and dole out $12 million in hush money payoffs to various women that he was having affairs with that were inside the company.
Not a joke. Funny. It's just funny.
Hey, babe, what has happened to this world? It's unbelievable. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park, man, they're doing a great job, bang-up job. I saw more jackpots being won. Steve Calabro over the weekend. Casino, just absolutely sensational. Of course, the Champion Simulcasting Room, perfect place to punch away. Saratoga, you got the same sort of feeling, right? Saratoga on a beautiful day. I remember being out there on one of those winter days at Hialeah Park and sucked down a lot of vodka and grapefruits at that outside bar there. I don't know if, when you walk in and there's that scoreboard and the citation statue, and they had a little like veranda bar. And I used to like to sit like kind of on the stairwell there and just sip a cocktail and watch all the babes go by. It was absolutely fantastic. And of course, plunge away on the horses. And you gotta have that same kind of feel, back in the day type of feel when you get out there now and you punch away at the Champion Simulcasting Room. Although with all the modernization that you could possibly want in terms of going screen to screen and being able to view everything in whatever fashion you care to. If you want to be alone, right, sit there in a booth there and just punch away on your own there. Maybe you got a little calculator. Maybe you got the sheets and you just don't want to share your information. You don't feel like yelling and screaming. They have that. And then at the same time, you saw how festive it was on the Kentucky Derby. Those guys, those Spanish guys that, hit the... They must have had this 80-1 shot, right? Oh, my God. I never was high-fived so hard in my life.
By a random.
Does that scare you sometimes? There's some guys that high-five you so hard that you really don't want to offer the opportunity. I'm glad that's not as in vogue as it used to be. Now it's just like a gentle fist bump.
Yeah.
But, some of these guys, George Animal Steel was like that. Not the wrestler, but our friend George Animal Steel. And if he high-fived you after a race, it was like, wow, I want to have my hand amputated. Please, somebody. Does anybody have any Novocaine, anything, cortisone? Shoot me up with something. Is Ortiz around? Shoot me up with something, David.
Exactly.
I can't feel my hand. I'm up at the plate next, man. I need an injection. They should have just added, instead of a bat rack, like syringes there with the Boston Red Sox. Manny Ramirez, too. Huh? Unbelievable.
Big Papi.
I don't want to get on that whole thing because I don't have the same animosity towards Boston teams that say, I mean, obviously nobody hates him as much as the professor, but
he's like a Yankee fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that the fans are into it, and even if they're a little bit warped, it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, at least they're real fans, Lubie, right? All right, well, if you're a real fan of having fun, Hialeah Park is a place for you to go, man. Just unbelievable. The poker room is also something that should not be overlooked. I mean, they do a tremendous job in there. That's always been extremely well run, right from the outset. And they put the right people in place because they had the right people there all along at Hialeah Park. And that's part of the beauty of the whole thing. It really is kind of a family system there. And, wow, while a lot of places are, sort of a corporate feel and kind of cold, this just exudes a lot of warmth when you walk onto the grounds there at Hialeah Park. Get a player's card when you come through the door there. That's absolutely a fantastic thing with maybe the best rewards program, certainly around here, of any of the casinos in the local area. Hialeah Park, best rewards program, and maybe one of the best in the country. I mean, whoever designed this had the player in mind because a lot of free play given away. All you have to do is sign up. You get a player's card, use it. Just swipe it through every time you're at a machine, stick it right in there, and when the green lights come on, you realize, man, I'm getting all kinds of amenities and freebies that are way out of proportion in terms of favorable to me compared to other casinos around town. So it's a great place to play. You're in there with a big shot to win, and then, of course, if you're doing the horses or poker, you're on your own. But you know what? Great facility, great platform. It's unreal. It's all happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. And let me not forget to mention the food and drink. Also sensational there and not at ballpark prices. You won't have to pay like you're going to see Kachuk play for the Panthers when you go get a cocktail there. And, you have to give up a quick claim deed to your house just to get a couple of drinks. All right, we're coming back with more here on the Defo Show. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. Also, I don't know, can we figure out a way to incorporate this into like tomorrow's show? I always love talking to this guy, Michael Rappaport. He's a riot. Okay. He's an actor and a comedian, and he does all this stuff. Big political guy, podcasting, huge Knicks fan. And he's going to join us, and he has the podcast, I Am Rappaport, and that's released every Tuesday and Friday. Why? Really? You only have to do this a couple of days a week if you're a big shot, Louie?
I guess.
I guess that would be the dream.
One day.
Big money, 1 day a week for a half hour. I think I was telling Marty the Party Sacks that was my goal here, in this whole new venture. Eventually, just, hey, from wherever you happen to be, right? I'm with Gurgles in the Maldives, and here we go. It's another Degenerate Friday. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Really dig the comments, man. A lot more people getting on the chat line here, which is always good, and nice to see some new names as we bring you the program on South Florida Live. Don't forget about Hialeah Park, Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, and Michael Rappaport on our Believe podcast. That's BLEAV, and you can just click on Believe Network, and you'll find that later on today. Michael Rappaport going to join us on today's program. We don't have any way to infuse that into the program here.
And it's going to be one of the 7 minutes. It's through the same thing.
It's okay. Yeah. I take 7 minutes with Michael Rappaport. No,
I can
see what we can do, man.
And it's not 7 minutes, so I wasn't thinking. That's why I was. And he can only do after 9, so that's why I was like. All right. It doesn't really fit, but we can do it. I'm sure I can figure something out, I presume.
Yeah, maybe we'll just come up with something new. All right. We're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Glad you guys are with us. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. Michael Rappaport on our Believe podcast later on today. You can also catch us on 5 Reasons, which is Ethan Skolnick's fine. I mean, he started that from like in his garage somewhere, and that thing's taken off, so that's great. And then Mike Mayo joins us at 12 o'clock today with the now it's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, but he usually is with us in his capacity as the Degenerate Gambling Gourmet.
Yes.
He was feasting again, Lubie. He had that brunch at the Foundry, and then I saw he went up to that gentleman, Tom, and he has that Louisiana Kitchen food truck up there in Boynton Beach.
Oh, my God, that stuff looked insane.
Oh, man, did that look good. Wow. Tom, who's a big fan of the show, and the cat can flat out cook. I don't know. I've not been overwhelmed. The many times I've gone to a food truck. I don't know. Do you find them like?
I've had some food trucks that are really good, but it's not like
Yeah.
people talk about it like it's automatically good. That's not
Yeah.
true. And what I used to like about food trucks and where they originated was, like the worker at a construction site or
Yeah.
worker somewhere, and they wanted to feed them, so you'd get a good meal at a good price. And I'm cool that's become cuisine and it's become hipstery. That's cool. You're getting a wider range of food. You're getting probably even better food. But then also prices. To me, it's like doing fine dining, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to sit on a curb and eat the food, but it's $35
Yeah.
for pasta. Like, do I okay, it's cool, good for you, but I don't like it. It doesn't compute. It feels like it's the opposite of what a food truck was really meant to do.
Yeah, food truck should be some really good greasy burrito.
Tacos or a burrito or a burger, like
a burger that just oozes like
Yeah.
juice and grease all over your face. No, there was a food truck many years ago at Syracuse University. I don't know if this was one of the originals. There probably were others, but it was called the Wimpy Wagon.
there you go.
And the guy made like the greatest burgers, man. They were very,
Exactly.
very unusual, but man, and they were like
That's
a buck.
Yep.
It was crazy, and you couldn't wait for this guy to come around when he did. He wasn't always around, and obviously you were battling like winter conditions. It literally was, like trying to get a cheeseburger while you were on deck on one of the boats on Deadliest Catch. I mean, just snow hitting you in the face and everything, and this guy is sliding down the mountain. But he did like this double burger on a weird, different type of bun. But it was like two burgers, like sort of adjacent to each other, not stacked on top of each other, and it was so good. I mean, I still remember it today. But this guy was doing a food truck that was in 1970. So I don't know. Was there a predecessor to the modern food truck craze? Because that was one of my favorite things, was to have this guy pop by there and get one of those burgers.
Yep, that's what I always talk about after the club in college. Those perros was great because it would fill you up, and it wasn't expensive, and I love that. Like, and I get it. Like, I like when you go to these places and there's a bunch of food trucks and you can get a little bit of everything. I love eating that way, so I'm not against it. It's just confusing because
I'm expecting the food to be cheap though,
that's
and you're right about that. Like,
it's
I'm not expecting to pay like
prices.
high-end restaurant prices. I understand food costs and everything, and I'm very sympathetic and empathetic to guys that go out there and just are working hard.
Yeah.
And willing to go ahead and take a shot with this kind of thing, and they're coming to you. There was the Conch Man also on University Drive in I guess it would be Miami Gardens. I don't know if the Conch Man still exists.
I don't think so.
But the Conch Man had a food truck that was absolutely sensational, and did a lot of fried fish type of stuff.
Nice.
And it was terrific. I don't know. If anybody has any food truck,
Like Julian just said it, like, and that was lobster roll is one that got me. Like,
Julian's right. I was going to say lobster rolls. Yeah.
And I get it, and it's lobster, so it's not gonna be cheaper because it's a food truck. Yeah, but isn't that the point of food truck? Is the overhead is way down,
Right?
So if the overhead's
Guys
way
rolling
down
around on wheels. Yeah.
And that's what, and Ken and the professor and Mayo talked about this a lot, because if you notice, the all you can drink mimosas have skyrocketed. Like, it's 20. It used to be 15. No, they have them, but it's like $25. And the Foundry hasn't raised it. The Foundry, bottomless mimosas, bottomless Bloody Marys is still 15. And Ken was talking about
reasonable.
Yeah. Look, prices are going to raise. Everything's gone up, but they've done, like Texas Roadhouse in a way, everything they can to keep the prices consistent. To me, if you have a food truck, the point is that your costs are down compared to a storefront. So then why is that not being passed down? Why am I paying the same thing? And I've done it. I pay the same thing at a food truck as I would at a restaurant for someone who doesn't have the same cost as a restaurant. Like, you don't have employees.
That's what surprised me, is that the times I've gone, and I don't say that I've been to a zillion food trucks, but I've gone to festivals and stuff like that, and they have the food trucks.
Crazy.
And I'm more than happy, to try something like that. But I haven't been overwhelmed. I've had some decent stuff, and I was always surprised that the prices weren't as high as they were. I really was. This Tom guy, though, with the Louisiana Kitchen, man, that guy's sick. I mean,
it's nuts.
He is preparing some of the best food. The grilled oysters. Who has grilled oysters at a food truck? You can't even get them at most restaurants here in South Florida. Even fine seafood houses really just started in the last few years, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong about this. We'll have to ask Mayo. But really just started in the last few years, even off grilled oysters outside of famous place, Shuck and Dive.
Shuck
is
and
like
dive.
a
You had
dog
shuck and
show.
dive, and that was it. Yeah, no one else did it.
Yeah.
Look, and that was what I was trying to say is, to me, with the food truck is I expect the quality may not be as good, but it's going to be cheaper. So if you're what'll happen a lot of the time is they want to charge the same price, but it is not the same quality as fine dining.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to charge and you're going to have great food, that's a different story. We've talked about this. Like if you're going to charge a certain amount of money, then I'm allowed to have high expectations. All we've heard about Tom and his Louisiana kitchen is that you're never going to want to eat Louisiana food anywhere but New Orleans or at his place once you try it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that looked great. So Mike will have a review on that too. Coming up on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox later on. All right, we're coming back with more. The Agent of the Stars, Brett Tessler. Do I run those questions by him from the top of the show? Were they reasonable?
Yeah,
I think we've had a few of those things. A couple of other things. This guy Piercy, I guess, was leading the 3M, the golf tournament this week on a PGA Tour.
Okay.
And he absolutely gagged in the final round after leading all the way through. He had a 4-shot lead going to the final round. Just blew up. I mean, all of a sudden, he was a shankopotamus. And Tony Finau finally found his way into the winner's circle. Your man, Tony Finau, Lubie. And so he won this thing. And then that double disqualification, if there are car racing buffs out there, somebody either explain on the chat line, or I guess you could give us a call here. But what the hell, happened with these two guys? Well, one I'm pretty sure I read was the guy had a gas tank that was too large. So, but who's cheating in NASCAR where, you're doing it at a level where, how do you think you're not going to get caught? Holy Brittany Griner. I mean, you're rolling through an airport in Russia, for God's sake. They're going to inspect the car, right? So I don't know. Is that just an inadvertent error that was made by one of the mechanics? Oh, yeah, we were able to put 72 gallons of gas in here so that he didn't even make a stop in the 500 miles. He went all the way. Never came to the pits, right? Didn't even need tires, nothing. And that could be an advantage, right? I guess if your gas tank was larger than everybody else's. And what was the other thing that was always big? Restrictor plates. I don't know enough about car racing to try to figure out, but when do you ever see a double disqualification? I remember one time I had thrown my tickets away and walked out in disgust. I was in the race book at Bally's in Las Vegas. And I was not having a particularly good trip, and I was having, an especially bad day that day. I was pretty much wiped out. It was like 7 o'clock at night, and I was ready to go to the ATM machine, but I'd already used it. So now I was going to have to wait till 12, as spoken of in the clip that Lubie played at the top of the show. And, it's a disaster, right? What do? You got 5 hours in Vegas, and you got nothing. You got no money. You've already eaten enough. I mean, what are you going to run down and get like a couple of White Castle burgers, for $3 a pop? Plus, you got to walk through 10 different casinos to get there, and then you get there and you realize I'm eating something that's going to kill me. And maybe you even have a little bit of a death wish, right? Just a little Charles Bronson, a little bit of a death wish.
At that point.
All right, so as I'm leaving the room in disgust, I turn around for some reason, and my horses had run third and fourth, Lubie. Third and fourth. There was no reason to, even consider for a second that there was a chance that I was going to be declared the winner of this race, but they actually disqualified both the first and second place finishers. Now, I had already kind of walked out of the room there, and I happened to look back and say, what is that? Is that a 7-5 up there? Oh, my God. I think I bet that, right? Now, a lot of people laugh at me about this because they think I'm like an idiot, or they can't, they think maybe I'm trying to preserve these tickets for some kind of tax, reclamation project where, you claim if you had a winning year or you had a couple of jackpots that you signed for, that, I had an equal number of losses, which, that they may, if they were going to audit you on that. I mean, can you imagine the poor schmuck that calls you into the IRS office for an audit and you bring him a shoebox full of losing racing tickets?
Great.
And the other stipulation by the IRS at the time, I don't know if they even bother with this anymore, was that you had to staple the tickets to the day's form or the scratch sheet.
Oh, Jesus.
So for the corresponding day to justify these losses. Now, any asshole can go and pick up like, a garbage pail full of losing tickets. So, I mean, it's kind of a stupid way, this governmental system of checks and balances to try and nail the degenerate for even more money than the poor sucker was losing to begin with. right? Where they're taxing your winnings. You finally win something, and they grab like 25%. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, that's just cruel and unusual. It really is. But imagine going to the audit with a shoebox full of losing tickets. So anyway, I stack my tickets for some reason. It's just a habit. I keep all of my losers like in a nicely neat stack here, like I was Rafael Nadal, just twisting water bottles around so the labels are all facing the right way before I serve. Even though it's only taking like an hour of the 25-second shot clock for me to get around to doing all of these idiosyncratic things that Nadal does. So I shuffled through them, and sure enough, there it was, man. I had hammered out like a $10 exacta box in the last act of desperation on 2 horses that ran 3rd and 4th and ended up winning the exacta.
There you go. That's why you keep the tickets.
But in NASCAR, I mean, how common is that? Double disqualification, Lubie.
I don't know.
Pro wrestling, where both guys end up like outside the ring.
Well, I mean.
And every now and then, the ref, after he gets to the count of like, what did he give him? A 20 count to get back in the ring,
It's supposed
right?
to be 10.
20. 20. No, I think it is 20, right? And then that goes on forever. The guy's like 16, 17. You better get back in here, Sheik, or you're out. Hey, vey. Anyway, if anybody has any insight into that, please help us out. All right, we're coming back with more Brett Tessler, the Agent of the Stars, in about 15 minutes or so here on the show. We'll get into the NFL, the big questions, of course, that we posed earlier. What do you think? You think Brett's going to want to address any of that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure he'll talk about it. I mean,
are New York teams on the ascent? How could they not be?
Well, that's the thing. If they're not
on the ascent, there's something wrong with just the basic, essential, cyclical nature of sports, my friend.
Exactly.
Where the bad teams have every opportunity to get good, especially in the National Football League, but somehow can't figure out a way to do it. Jacksonville, are they going to shake off last year? What do you think?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, they have a good young quarterback, and they have a coach that's won. Yes, the Jaguars, and they have talent. Urban Meyer was just a loon. It was a weird-ass hire. Like, that made no sense.
What happened to Urban Meyer? Was he finally exposed? Does the NFL expose these guys as freaks? Is that why Nick ran so fast?
Probably.
Because he was worried something was going to come out about him that, wasn't necessarily favorable to the idea that he was a man of great character and intellect.
If you're a controlling asshole, the NFL doesn't accept that in these days. It just doesn't.
No.
The player makes 10 times. Especially if you have a quarterback on your team that's a Russell Wilson or a Burrow or Brady or Rodgers, any of those guys. They're making $300 million, $400 million. Like, you can't compete. Like, who are you? Get out of here. Like, are you kidding me? Look, Arians, and to this day, Brady still won't admit that they had an issue, but obviously they had an issue. Arians had contended for Super Bowls. Arians was a big reason why the Bucs had a turnaround, and Brady and him had whatever they had, and Arians was gone. Like, you can't be the tough old school. And that's what these college coaches still are. Still, even with NIL and even with all the money that's there, if you've won in college, you still do the lay the law down crap. That doesn't work in the NFL. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Please.
We're not going to put up with that shit around here. Exactly. Okay, Nick. Urban Meyer was like slapping guys, right? Didn't he kick his kicker in the balls for missing a kick in practice? That was some ugliness. Yeah, you can't get away with that, right? They're not going to cover that up when you're with the Jacksonville Jaguars. As at Ohio State, what do you think Urban was doing? He might have been worse than Woody Hayes. He might have been Bobby Knight. And nobody cared. Knight got away with it forever, right? You think that was the only time he choked a guy was when somebody happened to, be taking a video of it? Yeah. Right? This preceded the day of everybody having a cell phone out there. Imagine Bobby Knight, what his policy would have been about cell phones at practice.
Oh, no.
Plutarski, my friend, 0.0. He would have killed somebody before he let him leave the practice arena with his cell phone. All right. Anyway, Urban Meyer, that was one of the strangest tenures. If Nick Saban's, period of time here with the Miami Dolphins, 2 years, was just, laced with ugliness and assertions that Nick was the biggest prick on the face of the planet. How ugly was it that Urban Meyer was able to destroy a franchise and his own career and reputation in a span of about 6 games, right? What did he last? 11 games into the season, Urban Meyer? Fired in his first season.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if he made 13 or 14 games. Yeah, because when he left, there were still games left.
Yeah.
Playing games. Yeah, that was a disaster.
Disaster. All right, we're coming back with more here. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, Peel Yourself Off the Mount Monday, South Florida Live. Great to be with you. Thanks again to Hialeah Park. Always a pleasure representing them. Brett Tessler, the Agent of the Stars, coming up later on our Believe podcast. Michael Rappaport, actor, comedian, and podcast. Really a very popular gentleman all the way around, right? Michael Rappaport joins us. But what do you think? I mean, do we throw it out there to him about Nick's better chance to get Donovan Mitchell or Joni Mitchell? What do you think?
He should. He's a huge Nick fan. You know, he's like Mr. New York.
I think that should be the first question.
He's great.
Yeah,
he gets like really.
We only have like 7 minutes with the guy, and that might be one question to Michael Rappaport. But anyway, he's going to join us on Believe later on, BLEAV Network, and Lubie does a fine job of putting that together. We call that thing After Hours, since we're doing it after the show. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, Tommy Fox going down there, I think, maybe today. Tommy, we love you. Good luck with everything.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Trying to consummate yet another deal with
something.
Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill to continue. Just embracing them, and then B, getting some shows on. Down there. Now that we have, looked like you perfected the
whole
remote
setup. Yep.
Very nice, man. Very nice. We'll have to get that equipment back from Big Jack. But
yes, that was going to be my next conversation with you. You're lucky I got things rolling late this morning. That was going to be my. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, it's time for a change.
Because it was a pain in my ass.
It's time for a change now.
By
2 weeks.
I don't really want to do that. It was annoying.
No, we need the mobile setup here, and that would be a lot of fun, especially at Jimmy Johnson's Big Show when the Jimmer joins us, and he's got the book coming out. So maybe we can do something in conjunction with that, with Dave Hyde, Leslie Visser coming down, and the professor, and Mayo, and the whole crew. And we'll get Mayo. We'll shovel one of those Italian fisherman pizzas right in the face of Mike Mayo.
Yep.
In fact, we should have one. We'll call ahead, like as we're getting within the vicinity.
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104 on the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. And we'll call ahead and we'll call Dominic and Jimmy and say, get one in the oven. And he'll know exactly what we're talking about, the Italian fisherman pizza. And we're saying the gourmet's on his way, and you would have to make it an extra large. Although I think induced by the possibility that there may be something working, of a female variety. I don't want to, make any implications here about Mayo.
This feels like from Defo back in the day type stuff.
Yeah, where some fashion model latches on you and says she loves older men. Yeah,
it's classic. He's like, Lubie, look. I'm like, what? And then I got the age, and I'm like, wow, good for you,
Mayo. I guess it's the good television hair that he has. Maybe she's looking for a man of intellect. That's possible.
Probably.
But anyway, it was good to see that, he was thinking about working off some calories, and he and that's just what happens when a woman out of nowhere comes into your life and you're thinking, my God, am I ready for this? Mm-hmm. And, I'm ready for you. I hope you're ready for me. And am I ready for this? And he's not, clearly, right? I mean, you can't keep eating like you're going to the chair, even if it's his job, and do zero exercise. So the key for him will be, does he go today on another one of those walks of life? But I thought that was inspired by a woman. Nonetheless, you know what? I'm not sure if he'll be a reformed individual by the time we get down there, but he will want to have at least a slice.
Oh, for sure.
Of the Italian fisherman pizza, which was more than a meal. I mean, one slice of this thing, and the pie was gigantic.
Yep.
And I remember, the guys bringing it to the table. And I'm saying, what is that, a pyramid? I thought I was in Egypt, and it was just a pyramid of like the most delicious, fresh, a variety of seafood that's all available to you there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in any other fashion, right? I mean, it had everything on there. It was great. Lobster, shrimp, scallops, mussels, clams, fish.
There's a lot.
Wow.
They did a great job.
That's kind of how you'll feel about virtually everything. I know we're partial to this Italian fisherman pizza, and we've been egging Mayo on to try and have one. But, I mean, even if you wanted an egg on one, we had that there. And pizza's just part of the fanfare. I mean, a diverse and tremendous menu of the freshest seafood and all kinds of different concoctions, whether you're thinking about like Keys bar food or you're thinking about a fancy meal, celebrating an anniversary, just celebrating life in general. What a spot. Mile marker 104 on the Overseas Highway. It's on the Bayside. They do have accommodations. Check that out at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Larry Calvano, Dominic, and Jimmy get up there with the band. You would have thought you were listening to U2 playing into the sunset there as you're watching some boat off in the distance just drift off, and you're thinking, yeah, Daddy. That's the way to live. We got to get the Polyman down there, too. The Polyman would love it. Absolutely love it. That's his kind of scene there. Get him a racing farm. We'll put the TVG on, get a home betting account. Bingo, man. We're there, set for life. You'll love it, and you'll feel like you went through a vital transformation. And chilling out, is really the name of the game there, as evidenced by being incorporated into the name of the place itself. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, coming back with not the Gambling Gourmet, the Agent of the Stars.
Agent of the Stars.
Gambling Gourmet is at 12, man. I'm already getting ahead of myself here. The Agent of the Stars, Brett Tessler, going to join us here on the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie Lubitz. We'll get that equipment back. And we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
Please. It made my life a lot easier. The time. Get in my ass.
It's 8:24. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
The lovely Debbie Boone joins us here. The song You Light Up My Life. And it's one of those songs that, well, at least for some period of time, I think in virtually every human being, no matter what language they speak, that it was in their head for a period of time. To the point where everybody walked around with that You Light Up My Life on their mind, right? Which has to be a sensational tribute and distinction for anybody that's in the music business.
Well, for the most part, yes. And I am very, very grateful. But a few people did want to break that vinyl over my head.
Here's your record, Debbie. I'm using it as a Frisbee. What are you talking about?
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz. Brett Tessler, the Agent of the Stars, coming up in just a couple of minutes on the program. That was a lot of fun talking to the Jersey girl, Debbie Boone. We had no idea what to anticipate. Kind of threw, as you could see in my usual style. I was trying to figure out a way to phrase the thing, and I ended up with like an overwhelming hyperbolic Mara Ranolo type of statement there that was not even a question. And thank goodness she was able to take that mess and turn it into something that we could work with. which
Well,
was
because that's
great.
what you're trying to say. Not you weren't trying to say it, but that's what that song is. Like,
Yeah.
it was a classic song, but everyone, you get it stuck in your head, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
my God, fucking song. So, like, the fact that she owned it is like, yeah, honestly, that's what that song's known
Yeah.
for. Like, pretty much.
And it's one of those songs that when it's in your head, I mean, honestly, I mean, I don't want to say this to Debbie Boone because, you know, she was a great guest and
Yeah, she was
a
fun.
lot of fun to have on the program. You know, I wouldn't mind having her back anytime, right? We should make her part of the repertoire that we have here on the show and part of the group. But wow, she was fantastic. But it was always ugly, right? When you had that in your head, you light up my life. It was kind of like the theme from Titanic and, you know, and a bunch of other stuff. In the year 2525, Zager and Evans, remember that thing? In the year 25. Horrible songs, only eclipsed by, you know, and this is true if you have little kids. I'm sure you've experienced this and you've driven from South Florida to Disney World. And unfortunately, you're subjecting yourself to just horrors and cruel and unusual punishment, including visiting, you know, I mean, when you go through that It's a Small World thing all the way back home, that's in your head, no? And if the kids start singing and you smack them, I mean, not to advocate violence towards children. I don't mean to imply that figuratively, let's say, but, you know, you're just thinking, my God, get that out of your skull right now. It's a small world after all. Well, it is a small world because I knew this guy when he first started out, and it was great to watch the evolution and what Tessler Sports Management has become. And of course, we've been friends for over 20 years, and he's been doing this for over 20 years now. We welcome to the show, the Defo Show, Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars, joining us here, and his presence brought to you by a will and trust attorney and estate planner, Mr. Michael D. Wild. You never know. This should be a Wild slogan. You never know when you're going to roll a 7, right? You just never know. So be ready for it. This man, I'm sure, is ready for action here as the NFL training camps, I'm thinking, are all, you know, have all reported by now. We welcome to the show Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars. Brett, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Dave. Thank you for the generous introduction, and your friendship and support throughout the years has been invaluable.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm hoping so. Yeah,
There's no value to put on it.
Yeah, it's hard to find any value to my life. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, as you know, the age is creeping up there, and you know, where I used to be able to run 4 miles and you know, then go out and play 3 sets of tennis. Now I'm crawling, you know, to make it around the block. All right, training camps. Is everybody in a training camp already, Brett Tessler? I would imagine. Have all teams reported at this point?
Yeah, everybody's there or getting there. And, you know, some guys, some of the rookies on certain teams, things have already sort of begun. And in the case of other guys, it's in the process of beginning. So, yep, we're there. Okay,
very good. Oh, Jim Sarney,
Yes,
actually,
right.
one of our
just
good
gonna
friends
say.
here, has an interesting thing to start with here, if you don't mind, because I know you're a huge Panthers fan and hockey
This is
fan and
way old.
advocate. What about the Lubie trade? What did you think about that from an agent standpoint, and also from, you know, well, where it puts the team, and what does it say to get Tkachuk and trade Lubie and a bunch of other stuff?
So the reality of the situation, I mean, look, looking at it as a fan, it's always sad when you see, you know, a superstar, a homegrown player, a guy who's been a great person in the community, you know, somebody who started his career and has been here through some of the absolute leanest times you could imagine, and, you know, helped this team over the last couple of years get to a point where it looks light a tunnel. It's sad to have to say goodbye to a guy like, I mean, if there is a such thing as Mr. Panther, Huberdeau is without Mr. Panther. But the reality is, you know, the guy is getting into his 30s.
Sort of lost
the
the
NHL
there
star
it is.
when they're there. Can you hear
You're
me?
kind of breaking up a little bit. Yeah, breaking up a little bit there, Brett. Are you in that tunnel that was closed last week? There by Los Olas?
No, sorry about that. Driving through the country. But so as I was saying with Huberdeau, emotionally it's tough to say goodbye to a guy who is essentially Mr. Panther. But the reality is he's getting up there in age. He's going to be due for a new contract that is absolutely going to be astronomical. And this team has spent a lot of money in other positions to try to compete for a Stanley Cup, not just make the playoffs. And the unfortunate thing about Huberdeau is over the last couple of playoff appearances, he sort of disappeared. And so some guys are really cut out for the regular season in this league. Other guys are really built for the playoffs, guys who play a more physical, ballsy brand of hockey, like a guy, like Tkachuk. And Tkachuk is 5 years younger. They got him locked up long term. And in terms of what this team needs right now, I believe he's going to be the better option for them than Huberdeau.
Excellent. All right. Lubie was crying and fetching that they gave up a lot. I would think Huberdeau deserves a standing ovation, though, when he comes back to town.
Yeah. He was great.
Now, as a member of the Calgary Flames. All right. I brought this up earlier in the program, Brett, and I thought of you when I saw this article because I'm looking at kind of some overview questions going into the NFL season. So if you don't mind, can I fire a couple of these by you? Talking about what would be important things to look at this year or interesting things to look at. We discussed this one already, the quarterback battle in Carolina. I think when the trade was made and Baker Mayfield went to Carolina, you were thinking, wait, who's the quarterback there now? Oh, Sam Darnold. Didn't they just have like a pretty decent, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like they had a little bit of an investment in terms of Sam Darnold, Carolina. But what do you see there? How big of a battle is that going to be for the starting quarterback position, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it's Baker Mayfield's job to lose. There's a reason they brought him in. When there's a guy who was drafted as high as Darnold, who is getting as much money from the Carolina Panthers this year guaranteed as Darnold, yet they feel the need to go out and trade for a guy who was the number one overall pick, who has actually led his team to the postseason and has shown flashes of more than competency. Let's just say that Baker Mayfield's high moments are higher than what Sam Darnold's highest moments have been thus far. And so for those reasons, I'd probably put my money on Mayfield.
Our friend Julian on the chat line suggests that maybe we're looking in the wrong direction there, that even if that's a toss-up, McCaffrey being healthy is the big issue there with the Carolina Panthers. All right. I would think this, I don't know. I mean, you were not a New York City guy growing up, but the big thing was rank out wars when I was growing up there in the 50s. And, one of the biggest things, like if you whip this one out on somebody, we were saying earlier, you usually finish the argument and you would say to the other guy, I'll rank you so low, you're going to be playing handball off the curb. Now, I bring this up for a reason because that's kind of where the New York football teams have been at. The last forever, it seems like, with the Giants and the Jets both being, in football purgatory for seemingly forever. And the question was, are the New York teams on the rise this year? And if they are, Brent, which I'm assuming the answer has to be yes to that, is it only because they were so putrid in the past? Or are they actually like ascending in a decent direction?
Yeah. I was going to say deep and not trying to be a wise guy. You asked if they're going to be on the rise. I don't think it's really possible for them to be on the decline. It can't get much worse. You can't really get less than zero, and the decline has been pretty severe. I don't think it's been a lot of fun to be a Jets fan, like our old buddy Eric Reed. Over these last few years, and then as it relates to the Giants, I mean that's a situation where that's a team that at least had some great success in recent history, but a very sharp decline over the last few years. So they went ahead and made a change in their front office. They brought in Joe Shane to be the new general manager, who is somebody who I've known for a long time and somebody who I think brings a little more of a youthful perspective to the position, as opposed to someone like Dave Gettleman, who really has that old school approach. He's a guy that was with the Giants back in the old days in their personnel department. And then he became the general manager of the Carolina Panthers, where they had some success. And the philosophy there was always built from the line, defensive linemen, defensive tackles, offensive line. And those are certainly important. But in today's NFL, you also have to have an eye for the skill positions. And, you also have to know not just who to go after at the skill positions, but when to go after them, as opposed to, maybe not taking a running back so high in the first round, like, Saquon Barkley or something like that. That's clearly a move that I think has not helped the Giants. And so, with some fresh faces there and, with the Jets having their young quarterback, Zach Wilson, this being his second year, and a guy like him, was probably going to take a little time to adapt. We'll see if this is the year where the light kind of goes on for them as well. So if you were a fan of either of those teams, there's certainly at least cause for optimism.
So another team that was dreadful the last couple of years and also has had sort of some success in recent years, the Jaguars, is a team a lot of people are sort of looking to rebound. Again, how much worse can you be? Plus, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that a lot of people still have a lot of faith in, and Peterson has one as a coach. Around the NFL, look, Cam Cameron was a disaster down here and at least made it through a season. Like, around the NFL, you talk to people, what was the sentiment of just how bad Urban Meyer was? Like, what was the sentiment about Urban Meyer? Because we laughed about him being hired, but even I didn't think he'd be that bad. Like, I thought he'd get through a year.
I thought he could be good because just like everybody else out there, whether it's fans of college football, recruits who ended up going to University of Florida when he was there, and then ultimately Ohio State when he was there. Look, Urban Meyer has sort of a cult of personality in the way that he just projects an image of confidence and, superiority and greatness and, certain type of arrogance, if you will, that, he's had such success in the past at the college level. Why would you doubt that it couldn't work here until you actually saw how bad it actually played out? And not only did it not succeed, you could say that Bobby Petrino's time in Atlanta was certainly underwhelming. You could say that Steve Spurrier's time in Washington with the Redskins was definitely not what people had hoped for. But honestly, those guys look like Lombardi and Shula compared to last year in Jacksonville. And so I dealt with the Jaguars last year, and let me just tell you, the way things were set up there between the head coach, the general manager, the personnel department, in the way that they went about business and tried to get things done, it's unlike anything I've seen in 25 years as an agent. And
wow.
I don't necessarily mean that in a complimentary way.
No. Didn't come off that way. Don't worry.
Does one move, getting rid of Meyer and bringing in now Doug Peterson,
like a silver
put them on the right path all of a sudden, or are they so mishugana from the field up that they'll never get it together?
Let me put it like this, guys, and as absurd as what I'm about to say sounds, they may as well have named Lubie their head coach this year.
Oh my God.
And it could have only got better.
Jesus.
And that's not a knock on Lubie. I think Lubie has many qualities.
I'm not a head coach.
I think Lubie has many qualities you're looking for in a head coach. But I'd say that when you compare it to Urban Meyer, it wasn't a matter of the things that he didn't do right. It's a matter of all the things that he did wrong in terms of just managing personalities, the way people felt about him, just the overall vibe in that building. And I don't know what it's like coaching college. Obviously, when you got those kids under your thumb, maybe intimidation tactics work. Maybe you can drop the hammer, but in today's NFL, that style really doesn't play out. And, that's the reason why I believe that maybe Mike McDaniel is exactly what this team needs, coming off the Brian Flores, whatever you would call it, regime or regime. Yeah, reign of terror or whatever. So I just feel like I'm very interested to see how this is going to work. It's certainly a gamble on the Dolphins' part, but boy, I mean, it could be that thing where maybe they finally do find their next Don Shula, their young, bright mind, a guy who could be here for many, many years and hopefully bring success to the organization.
I couldn't help but try to picture Lubie screaming at some 325-pound schwitzing defensive tackle that he better get off his ass and start moving, or he's not going to be around for too long. With Lubie's voice, and the guy, finding a way somehow to maintain enough composure to actually be angry and not start laughing out loud. All right, Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, with us here on the Defo Show, brought to you by well and trusted attorney Michael D. Wild. Just one more thing, if you will, Brett, before we talk about Michael D. Wild. Quarterback carousel, a lot of changes and significant ones. And then there's also the issue of Jimmy Garoppolo, who had shoulder surgery and is available. They supposedly gave him permission to seek a trade. You've been in that situation with the 49ers organization saying, hey, if you're not going to treat my guy right, let him seek a trade. That was with Raheem. And, they ultimately said, we'll give you the money, Brett. Don't threaten us with that.
Exactly.
But what do you see? I mean, who's really going to be the most significant in terms of moving a team forward? Would it be Wilson in Denver? I mean, what do you see as having the biggest impact? Brady coming back to Tampa Bay in terms of quarterback carousel?
Well, Wilson in Denver, as you mentioned, is a big one because here's a guy who's won a Super Bowl, nearly two. And, he's a guy that is just what that team needs, because many people seem to believe that the Denver team, the Denver roster is a good one, aside from quarterback. So I think when you take a guy like him and put him in a situation like that, it's only natural to assume that, that's a team that could really make some serious noise. And then other than that, Buffalo, he's a good quarterback. Is he Tom Brady? No. Is he Aaron Rodgers? No. At this point, is he going to be Justin Herbert? No. But there's also probably about 10 or a dozen teams in the league who would benefit from having a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. So it'll be interesting to see how that situation plays out. But, you mentioned the 49ers, and, we've been in that situation. It's the NFL, it's business. A lot of teams have been in a lot of situations with a lot of guys. Some teams seem to be in those situations a little more than others. But that's a situation where Jimmy Garoppolo has been a tremendous locker room presence there, very, very highly respected and liked by his teammates. And so for a guy like him, you can only hope that he finds a good opportunity somewhere and he's able to help a team.
Somehow that Subway sandwich he's sinking his teeth into in the television commercials looks far better in the picture than it does in reality when you actually get one of those things and you're thinking, what is this dreck? I don't know. Are you a Subway guy, Brett Tessler? I can't see that. I could see you more likely to be at like Las Espadas or VNS Subs.
Well, sometimes when you're on the road recruiting in some of the places I have to go, Subway may be the best option you got. So sometimes you grab what you can get. My kids love Subway; they think it's fantastic. So
there you go. Okay,
that's what they target.
Is that because of Steph Curry or Serena is eating there? Or?
I don't know. It's one of those things where sometimes when you're on the road, you just kind of grab what you can get, but probably not. It probably wouldn't make my top 10. I don't think.
Yeah, I used to like the tuna, actually, believe it or not, before I discovered that it was actually like some kind of fish that they manufactured in a lab. All right, maybe you're eating some of that stuff and it's not, going well, and you have issues, and then the next thing you know, I mean, life is cut short because of health issues. You want to be ready for that. Michael D. Wild is the guy that can really put you in good shape in that category.
He really is deep, and people can reach him at southfloridawills.com. And, getting things like wills and trust taken care of, it's something that nobody really wants to deal with. It's something nobody's looking forward to sitting down and having to talk about, including myself. But when I finally got around to doing it for my family, I realized in the blink of an eye, the process was over, and he's just a very easy guy to sit down and work with. And, it's a situation where it doesn't cost as much money as you might expect. And so for all those reasons, I look back and wish that I had met him sooner and that I had got it taken care of earlier, because God forbid had something happen to me prior to then, it would have put my family in a really, really bad position. And thankfully, for people listening here now, you don't have to put your family in that position. Reach out to Michael Wild immediately, southfloridawills.com.
And I thank you for turning me on to Michael D. Wild, because, he took care of my mother's will and trust. And I would have to say, the red tape that you experience in just trying to gather what is rightfully yours can be overwhelming. And without Michael D. Wild on the scene and still remaining available for consulting and things like that at no extra fee, we would have never gotten this thing straightened out. It was an absolute nightmare, and Michael D. Wild really saved the day all the way around for us. So thank goodness that you turned us on to him. Brett Tessler, always a pleasure, my friend. Still in Wisconsin? What are you doing, man? It's like hot as hell there, isn't it? Why don't you come back and cool off?
Yeah, exactly.
It's beautiful here as we speak. It's 65 degrees. I'll be cooling off in about a half hour. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
And then we'll be back home here very soon, but keeping my eye on everything going on with my guys in the training camps, and just hope everybody has a healthy and successful year around the league. And, for the people out there listening and for fans of the NFL, it's just an exciting time. It feels like this day will never come. This week will never come. But here we are in training camp, and before you know it, we'll be in the preseason, and the regular season's right around the corner now.
You're not heading for Whistling Straits today, are you?
No Whistling Straits today. We're playing Hawksview, but the wife and I are going to be heading up to Door County tomorrow. It's a nice area, northern Green Bay, sort of like the Hamptons, really, really beautiful, and some great food, wine country up there. So just looking forward to enjoying the little time that we have left up here.
Holy fuzzy Thurston. All right, have fun. Hit them straight. And thanks, as always, for being with us here on the show.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
All right, thanks a lot. You got to be insane to play that Whistling Straits course. That's not even fun. Remember that when they had a U.S. Open there and the pros were like, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah, it's insane.
My God. I mean, less treacherous signing up for the Live Tour, although that comes with a nice paycheck. How about that, Lubie? I'm ready. I'm ready to sign up, by the way. I'm ready to play on a Live Tour. These has-been Europeans can get $100 million to go. I don't know. Does need for money justify the lack of conscience? Which is, I guess, part of the issue there. That picture keeps falling off your wall, whatever that is. And why do you have it covered up? Are these nude pictures?
It's soundproofing. It's not sticking to the wall. It's annoying. I was hoping you wouldn't say anything because I was going to put it up during the break.
How can you not notice it? I mean, if you're watching the show.
I don't know.
When does the set fall apart in the background there? It'd be like one of these pictures falling down, behind me. All right, my Klitschko poster. Danny Williams and Klitschko, man, still one of the classics. Vitaly Klitschko, by the way, just celebrated, I think, his 51st birthday.
No, my birthday.
And while the Klitschkos were the subject of much derision, not because they were lacking in ability, but it was the most boring era of heavyweight championship boxing that I think we've ever known.
They're boring.
When the Klitschkos were dominating, I mean, they were taking on these bums that had no chance, and they were knocking them out, but they were kind of mechanical European stiffs.
Yep.
And yet, all of those things that we said, I wish I could kind of wrap up and take back because of the noble efforts by Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko in the war in the Ukraine. Just unbelievable, right? Very Alexis Arguello-esque, man. I go fight for my country, right? And these guys are doing it, and legitimately so. So much respect for Vitaly Klitschko, turned 51 the other day. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. We'll come back, wrap this thing up. Man, it went by quickly today, Lubie, for some reason.
Yes,
I don't know about you. But a good time and so many different things going on. I don't know the name of the person who keeps breaking their own pole vault record. Are you following this? U.S. track and field, World Track and Field Championships?
Yeah.
And I think this was done at the championships were taking place in, fabled track and field destination, Eugene, Oregon. right? Steve Prefontaine, all of that. The Oregon Ducks always had great track teams. And we're seeing like a lot of like world records being set. And this pole vaulter now has gone like 20 feet and change or something like that.
Wow.
Imagine it. Did you ever try that, man? I
Oh,
used
no.
to have to every now and then they would force you to attempt a pole vault in high school.
Freak me out. Heights are no. Don't freak me out. No way.
Don't see a lot. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to, disparage, the Israeli track team, but you don't see a lot of Jewish pole vaulters, do you? There's Ivan Schwartzman, man, and look at this guy. He's trying to clear. Like 6 feet would be hard to do. Dick Fosbury could jump higher on the high jump than I could pole vault. That's for sure. Remember, you'd stick that thing in the ground and it would like break both of your wrists. I mean, what the fuck is that? Who came up with this?
Did Sarni give it to us? Is it Armand Duplant? Or are these?
I'm sure it is if Sarni says so, because Jim's been following his stuff, man. Big upset yesterday in tennis, man. That guy Carlos Alcaraz, man, who everybody loves, and for good reason. He's fantastic. He wasn't really on his best stuff, but he wasn't off either. I mean, he ends up getting beat by this Italian kid who's been coming on, named Lorenzo Musetti. But so often it happens, right? Even, you're trying to beat a guy who's like the number 1 seed. This guy's like number 60 in the world, moving up to like maybe 40 after this tournament. Took place in Hamburg, Germany on red clay, Lubie. I can't tell you how many times you see this where the guy is about to pull off the major upset, serving for the match, is up like 40-15, and then somehow manages to lose that game and then lose the tiebreaker. He was up like 6-3 in a tiebreaker with 2 serves and couldn't put away Alcaraz. So to his credit, I mean, because normally that guy folds completely when they get to the third set or whatever. After... the guy that you were about to just knock off a gargantuan favorite. And imagine you had money on this, you would have been sick after the second set. Sick, Lubie, if you took a shot with this Musetti kid who's been playing pretty well. Wow, to his credit, he bounced back. More often than not, you'll see that guy completely fold in the third set, would you not? Would you not expect, you're up 2-0 on Djokovic, you lose the third set, the guy's losing the fourth, and then he's losing the fifth.
Very much.
Rarely do they bounce back once the momentum has changed. And for Alcaraz to have hung in there, you thought he was going to come back and win the thing. And this kid's terrific. So congratulations to this Musetti guy for rallying back when it would have been real easy. This is my thing, Lubie. Learn to forget. You have to wipe that negativity right out of your head and go, okay, guess what? I'm still even with this guy. Let me take him out in the third set. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. And Michael Rappaport on our Believe podcast today. So you want to check that out as well. BLEAV Network. That's coming up, called After Hours. And be up there, about 10, 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock, yeah, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, it hits the airwaves and be up there into perpetuity. We'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time!
8:56.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Well, like I said, Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday kind of flew by for me. I hope you guys had a good time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Love all the participation. that we had on the chat line today. Duplantis, is that the name of the pole vaulter that set the world record? Is that how you pronounce it? Duplantis?
I don't. I've never even heard this thing, so you guys all got me beat. No clue.
I've been setting like eclipsing his own record for like the last few times that a record has been set. There were some other records, right? High hurdles also when the women's 100-meter high hurdles. Or hurdles. I don't know. Is it high hurdles or just regular hurdles? What do they call it?
Hurdles,
Are there
actually.
low hurdles anymore? I
Yeah,
can only do the low hurdle, and
can do
I would strain both hamstrings attempting it. Is it true Jews don't jump? I mean, can I say that?
I'm sure there are Jews that do, but I wasn't one of them.
Could Danny Shays get off the ground? No, he had no
No, he
vertical
didn't.
leap.
That's
What are you
funny
talking
thing.
about?
No, he didn't.
Jews don't jump. That'll be the name of our podcast. All right. And it might be for Michael Rappaport. So he's going to join us on Believe after hours around 11 o'clock. You can catch that Believe Network. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have a lot of fun with you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us. Wednesday, Tony Segreto goes old school. Thursday, I believe Gurgles will be back for the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge.
Yes, we'll be back.
And then Friday, our Degenerate Friday, the professor. You can catch Mike Mayo later on with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Is Mayo on the road today anywhere? No, I don't think so.
Not today. Not today.
He must have enough crap in his refrigerator to, I mean, did he bring home some of that Cajun stuff from Tom's Louisiana Kitchen?
I can't wait to find out.
Man, those grilled oysters look really, really good, man. And next time he's in Fort Lauderdale, I don't know about schlepping up to Boynton Beach for me, but next time he's in Fort Lauderdale, I think we have to go, Lubie. He's down there sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday.
I'm down.
At some American Legion Hall, like by State Road 84. It'd actually be worth the drive. So anyway, Mayo is going to be coming your way, Mike Mayo, with the Lunchbox at 12 o'clock today here on South Florida Live. So looking forward to that. We'll see you tomorrow here at 7, and check us out on Believe with Michael Rappaport. Should be fun. That's coming up in just a couple of hours on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9 o'clock.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.